So the idea behind our project was to create an affordable housing system that could develop over time and become something that could reflect the needs of the inhabitants. So we wanted to create a clear and organized general structure, but that could also be able to be flexible and adaptable to people's necessities. And that could develop in and evolve in different directions over time. So the village relates to the surrounding areas in two ways. The residential part of the lot is introduced by public buildings located at the entrances, and that is to create a link and a filter between the public space and the residential space. The entrances of the lot defines the directions of the main streets, which themselves define the residential area and the park. The park nearby the canal, on the other end, has a more direct relationship with the city, acting as an attraction for all the citizens. The presence of restaurants and shops in the area introduces public circulation and creates a meeting and communication point without interfering with the residential space. So the pre-existing height difference on the site, okay. The pre-existing height difference on the site defines a slight but necessary separation between the residential area and the public park. And this gap also creates a shield against eventual floods, protecting the buildings from water. Inside the residential area, there are buildings dedicated more to the community, like the community library that we see on the right. And the stairs that connect the public area and the residential area are occupied by versatile structures that can be used like shelters, rest areas, or even host markets. So we wanted to create a clear, organized general structure through orthogonal streets and exposed frameworks that could be used as scaffolds to create and be developed by the citizens. And now Alesia will talk about the house units.
Okay, so the idea of the residential cluster grows around a functional wall, which serves as a hydraulic pipe container, and a house frame, which defines the size of the cluster. And then what we call the service volume, which are the bathroom and the kitchen, which are attached to the functional wall, and the living room, which sits in the middle of the house. So moving on to the variability of the habitation, while the first three steps were more create a more rigid scheme, the fourth one, which consists in adding other rooms to the building, is more flexible. So we can see the ground floor variability in the first line, and the first floor variability, which divides into two groups. The first one, which is described by one flight of stairs. This one is more rigid because the growth of the habitation is concerned around the stairs landing. And the second one is described by a double high living room with a floating corridor, which allows a more free increase of the building. So on the right side, we can see an hypothetical residential cluster in which we can see the functional wall, which is more wide, nearby the kitchen and the bathrooms. And also we have through the two types of stairs. In section, we can see the floating room, the floating roof, and also the two types of stairs, and also some in the BB section, the horizontal windows, which allows the lights to filtrate inside the living room, and also to activate a more natural air ventilation. Whereas for the elevation, we can see that these volumes can create some light tricks. So moving on to the last board and talking about construction details. Starting from the bottom of the section, we have drew a corrugated plate slab with tiled flooring. While for the walls, we have the design a prefabricated wood wall with plaster finishing both sides. And for the windows, we have chosen to draw some bamboo wood shutters, which allows the lights and the air to filtrate inside the rooms in different ways during the whole day. And the same shutters are used on the covered terrace, but in this case with an accordion opening. So we can see in the elevation and the perspective that the scaffold, the steel scaffold, is always visible, even on the facade of the building. So lastly, in the axonometry on the roof, we have drew a micro perforated corrugate plate, which is the one that allows the lights to filtrate and reach the windows, which allows to light up the living room under the windows. So that's it.